Okay, what we have here is an Italian guitar made by EKO, made in the factory called Pigini, P-I-G-I-N-I, Pigini, and it is a lovely guitar, 12 string, got a metal bridge, but we never know what that might be. It could be something else. It has a lot of issues with the fret. The peg holes are far too big. They have to be just some with that. The bridge is lifting, as you can see, and the neck there's a very high action. But the beautiful thing about these guitars is, looky. You can take the neck off with 4 screws, and for some reason or t'other, whoever worked on it last put a shim in. But it looks like they put a shim on the wrong side, but that's not a problem. I'm quite happy to have it like that. So, and as you can see, they've used screws there, which I don't think they're original, but you never know. So I'm going to clean that up. And the fretboard is very, very dry. If you look closely at that, it's bent all out of shape. And so I don't know why it's bent out of shape. I'm not going to actually worry too much about it being bent out of shape, as long as it works. It's for a man with dementia who's in a home and playing the guitar. This is his original guitar, and playing the guitar helps him a lot. So I'm going to make a priority out of this and get it done as quickly as I can. Something damaged in there, but we'll not worry about that too much, as long as it's not glued to the neck. So I'm going to take this apart and have a look inside. Actually, I'll tell you what, let's have a look inside now. Okay, let's go inside. Right, what do we see? What do I see? Oh, that looks a bit of a mess, doesn't it? There, looks a bit of a mess indeed. I can't see it as well as what you can see it, but I do think there's a couple of, oh, it's been glued. I'll be able to see that better whenever I take it apart. There's some damage to struts, because I found a little piece of strut in the guitar. Don't know what am I seeing there. Let me get back a bit. Okay, glued there. Right, let's go around this side. This new piece of wood there. I'm not sure what I'm seeing there. Looks like it's had some bits and pieces of work done to it over the years. Epoxy there. Do I see a gap there that hasn't been filled? No, I can't see this side, so let me get the guitar around a bit. Let me just look at the top. Okay. Okay, right. Let's look at the bottom now separately. Fungi. Fungi is the norm. Right, okay. My job is not to make it brand new, but to get it as playable as quickly as possible so the man can enjoy it. So let's just see. Okay, I'm going to look at the other side like that. Right, okay. Let's see, can I get that right? Okay, I think that's as much as I need to see. All I'm doing with this now is gluing down the back. It was only lifted fractionally along the back. So I have a block of wood on the inside, just 2 wood screws through with large washers. I'm going to clean up that glue now and then tighten up those screws as tight as they'll go. Okay, I'm just going to, a little drop of water. I had the guitar sitting upright before with the glue going down it, and I used a a paintbrush to push it in and a little slip of paper to push it in. Now I'm just going to use a little drop of water to take off the excess so that I don't have to spend ages cleaning up afterwards. And then what I'd want to see is when I tighten up the screws, I want to see some squeeze through, some excess coming out. And then I'll know that the screws are doing their job. There's been a lot of work done to this guitar, as you saw in the past. It's a very old guitar and I want to get it done as quick as possible. So can you see there? Yes, you can. So I'm going to tighten up these. Now it's just an ordinary block of wood and behind it the wood's not going to be glued to anything. It's going to come away. Let me just tighten up these wood screws. Oh, look at the squeeze through. Love it. That means that it's doing the job that I wanted it to do. Right, okay, another little wipe. Now the good things about the wood screw or any type of bolt that you use in that there is it means you can do a little bit of work on the guitar while you're waiting, although you wouldn't want to go crazy. So in this instance I'm going to take the neck off to have a look and see what we got. Right. Okay, let's see what we've got inside. So neck off. Right. Nice and clean. You can see it's clean there, but what we have is a lot of shims. There's two shims there. I think they were on that way. I think we're going to need a shim with the taper on it. But look at that, that's a lovely looking neck for acoustic guitar. And it makes it so easy. It has been cracked at some stage and it's been repaired, the neck. Don't know whether you can see that or not. Can you see that? But my job's not to touch that because that's been glued and it's been like that for years. So all I'll do is sand it down a little bit. It's cracked the whole way across there. All I'll do is sand that down and make it feel a little bit better. I'll put that in there too. And put the shims in there. And I'm going to put that up there and I'm going to put everything away and I'm going to sit down because my back's sore. Bye. Just a quick before I sit down. Look at the color of the original wood. That's original. And that's just the patina over the years. This here I need to do something with because it looks awful and out of place. I think what I've done, when I'm finished doing all I'm going to do with it, I think I'll bring it, I'll put some of the high bill guitar finishing on it, which will darken it down and make it look like the rest of the guitar. The fretboard has been worked on before. I actually think it probably was a black fretboard at one stage, but that'll come up nicely too. Okay, I gotta sit down, my back's sore. Bye. Okay, this is a very old guitar. And these holes are far too big. Let me show you. Well, I can't show you because what I've done is I've used some duct tape and I've blocked up the holes from underneath. And what I'm going to do is fill each hole with epoxy resin. Now you'll notice some white paper, but somebody has glued the paper in with epoxy resin as well, and I can't take that off, hoping that the epoxy resin will flow in and give it a bit more strength underneath, fill up the holes, and then I'll re-drill them again. Not quite finished. Put it in and let it sink. A couple of them sunk far too far down. What has happened is it's gone down and is spread underneath on the gaffer tape. So I'll let that go a little bit harder, then I'll put another couple of drops in the ones that are sitting lower. There you are. That's the holes filled up. I just see one and I just want to put a little bit of drop on that one there. all above the surface of the bridge. So that's them all. So now when that goes hard, as I told you before, the pegs were sitting forward. I can actually make them sit a little bit back, get them straighter and down in. Oh, I'm depressed, I'm depressed, I'm depressed. I just scraped that all down, turned it round, told you stories and everything, and polished it, did it all, and I hadn't pressed the button to make it switched on. Well, I can't unscrape it. Bloody Nora. How stupid are you? I was telling you some great stories too there. Anyway, what can you do? Kick yourself in the ass and move on. Right, I'm going to oil this now that I'm thoroughly depressed. How stupid is that? I really must get my camera system sorted out better, because it took me it took me 5 minutes to set up the camera stand and get the angles and get the lightings and all right. And then I forgot to press the button. You know, I should have it just ready sitting to press power on. For goodness sake, how stupid are you? Tell me, come on. People, write in, comment below how stupid I am. I need to be reminded. My God, looking up and seeing no red light on. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Okay. How sad is that? I was talking to you about Paul McCartney as well, and my dealings with him. And that'll have to be for another day. And Ray Davies, I had my dealings with Ray Davies when I was a member of BASCA, British Society for Songwriters and Composers. British something American, yeah, I forget it now. I was a member for years. And Ray Davies from the Kinks was the president or chairman or something like that there, I forget now. Ray Davies wrote some good stuff. They're underrated because they're the Kinks and they're just sort of the 60s and 70s, but if you listen to some of the stuff, especially his song about a transgendered man way back in the 60s. Transgendered man. Am I allowed to say that? I think it's got to be a transgendered human being, isn't it? For fuck's sake. Right. Let that oil sink in, and I probably will do another oil on it because it was as dry as a bone, like love. And I'm sorry I didn't let you see me scraping and polishing and doing the edges. It was all so lovely. Hopefully you got to see that. The next job I'm going to do, this needs to be oiled and darkened, so I might actually use some of my favourite, right, some of that stuff, high build polishing oil. And you know something, they look like just wood screws with washers, and I actually laughed when I first saw them. They're not, they're actually designed like that. That must have been how they did it long ago. It was all going so well, and I put the strings on and started to tune it up, and the little temporary fix I put on the bridge wasn't holding, so the bridge started to come off. So what I got to do now is take the bridge off completely. Damn. You know what else that means? If I put heat all over this, which I would like to have done, it might melt the epoxy. Man's a dear, Northern Ireland expression when somebody's frustrated. They're not little screws, they're riveted. They're riveting. Now I got to drill them out. Well, I got one rivet out, drilled right through, and the other I've drilled right through, but the rivet won't come out because it's epoxy resined in. So I'm going to have to finagle to get it out. Okay. And I've got my cup of coffee. Ooh. And the job I have to do is to make sure I don't point that at the body because that's red hot. So I'm going to do this and heat up that. When you finish this, you certainly have sore fingers because you're using a lot of pushing on your fingers here. Okay, that does feel like it's cleared away a lot of it. This here is, because you're scratching a thing, I just put that on to protect it a little bit in case I scratch it. What I should have done, what I must do now, I forgot to do this. I have to do this. Right, I meant to do this earlier. I want to scratch around it. It's easier doing it now than it is later, because I'm not moving the bridge. I need a pair of glasses so I can see what I have. My package was delivered. 2 roses for a guitar. I get so excited. That's a new app that I just downloaded. It lets you know when anything is delivered with your email address. So, you know why I do this? Because so often I find out that the manufacturers haven't glued this little 1/8 of an inch, and I always have to glue it. But the first thing I do is take away the lacquer right to the scratch marks, so that the glue that I use, Type Bond, will be on bare wood. Right, okay, that's not there. I should have done that earlier. Right, back to the grind. You could use a pencil if you wanted to, but I don't think it's any good because you're going to scratch it anyway. You're going to scratch it. I'm going to use the bigger blade because it seems pretty free. Okay, and let me get in there. I can see the I think this is the only bit left here. Optimistic that it's going to be pretty, but I do think it's going to be acceptable. That's the baby. That noise. He's a fish. One of those wind-up fishes. There you go, kiddo. Right, let's switch that off now and have a look. Yes. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to peel that away because there's no point in having loose wood sitting there. And here's what I was saying to you about, I actually think, alright, there as well. Right, okay. Well, it's not the end of the world. I'll put some Type Bond in there. Interesting. That's all glue, and I got to take that away because you can't depend on it being sticky. Sticky again. I've got to scrape that all down. I'm going to scrape it all flat. I got to go rescue this fly. Bye bye. I have nothing but bad choices here. This didn't come off very neatly. Left some wood there, and left a bit of a gap there in wood. If I clean it down, and I clean that down, then you're going to have a surface that's not touching. A part of it's not going to touch. But if I don't clean it down, the back end is sitting up off the guitar. So what I'm going to do, oh, the other third issue is that, hopefully you can see that in this because it looks very bright on your screen, is that I can't get the lacquer off without damaging the wood. It's so hard, the lacquer. All I was able to do was score it down to the hard part without chipping it. But it wasn't chipping, it was actually going into the spruce wood and taking out bits of the spruce wood. So as you can see, I scored it. So it looks like I'm going to have to leave the original glue on, which is very firm, I must admit. So what I'm going to have to do is glue it down the way it is. Hopefully that's not burnt out. My screen makes it look burnt out. Anyway, I'm going to start slathering instead of slobbering. Right, so let's get this glued down first and see where we are. It sort of clicks into place a little bit. It sort of fits into place. Yeah, you can just sort of feel it fitting into the place where all the dents and grooves are. Let's get this clamped up and cleaned. It's fitted into place. Because this is a good straight body. Yeah, it's nice and tight. Going to let that dry. Going to give it a good 2 days. That's the way I've got it clamped. 2 clamps at each end with a bar across it, pressing down. And it's a flat body, so it gives a good angle right across it. And that's a good bridge. So it's a good strong bridge, but let's just see what happens. Okay, hefty is the word. That's it glued back on, and as you can see, those 2 silver things sitting up, they are bolts going right through it with large washers on the other end. I know it's not the prettiest, but it needed the strength with 2 large bolts underneath to hold this down. Golly gosh and dagnammit and all that bad stuff. I've tuned this up. Well, I just knocked over a pole. Not a pole, but a pole. And the strings are not settled in yet. And the owner rang this morning and I said, come and get it. And then I tuned it up and then I realized I can't give it to him. So I had to ring him. The action is beautiful for a 12 string. But the problem is I don't like the deformation of the top. The top, let me just see if I can show you. Can you see there in the reflection? The reflection shows you that well, it's hard to tell, but if you look at that, the body has sunk in. So I'm going to have to go in there and have a look to see. When it tuned up to the 12 string, something obviously that I didn't see is wrong with the internal body. So I've rung him and told him, sorry mate, don't come and get it because I need to do some more work on it. This is holding very well, the re-glued on saddle, and you see I put 2 huge bolts on it with 2 huge washers underneath and they're tightened. And I haven't seen a 12 string with that kind of action before, and the neck is perfectly straight. It's not quite tuned yet. Yeah, it's gone out of tune again because those strings take ages to get into the right tune. But anyway, I've got to dig inside and find out what's wrong. Well, here we go. I thought I'd done this before. Let me just see. The problem is the body's sinking. Let me just have a good look at that. I can't see this, you see, because you guys can see it better than I can. So let's have a look back there to see what's happening. And what's happening with that strut. Can I get it in focus to see what's happening with that one? Yeah, and what's happening with this one across. okay. What about that one? I wonder if that's the... I think I spotted that before. Did I forget about it? Let me put some pressure on it. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, it's in there. That's the main thing. Okay, that's pushed up against it. It's pushed up against it back. As tight as I can make it, because if I push it any further I might damage the back, because you can see the little bulge there from the stick. So 48 hours. We're all together again. We're here, we're here. That's the post that was holding up the strut. There is, you can't see it, but there, the bridge is bending in a little bit. So I'm going to try to leave it in tune and put the camera down in so that I can see if there's anything I might be able to see that might need to be done to it with the strings tightened. Let me just see now. Here we go with the other camera. Can I get it in there? No, I can't. I can't. Because I got better results than I thought. So video on. Keep your fingers away from the... It's only £1,000 for an iPhone. Let's just see. The things we do for love. Now I'm trying to move it back and forth so I can see. I can't see anything. You can't see anything except for my hand in there. Oh, and the battery's going red. So let me just finish this. This is going to be some video, but I tell you, it's been all of... Oh, I've got a grip of it now. Right, now. All right, okay. Right, okay. And I can bring it out. And I know I haven't touched the button this time. Oh! I dropped it. But is the light going off? I don't know why the light's going off. I don't like that. Oh no, the light didn't go off. Right, okay. Okay. Well, I hate to tell you this, and I hate to tell myself this. I still am not happy with the amount of angle this is pushing on that, and I'm still not happy with the little... This is all fine now. But there's a bulge here, and there must be something wrong in here that I can't see. So the strings have to come off again. Or at least be loosened to the nth degree. Maybe I'm being a dope, but I don't like that. And I don't see anything wrong with the bottom, so maybe it's just a flex, but I don't like that. So what I'm going to do, the CST big bolts, I'm going to put that piece, this is hardwood, I bought this specially, really, really hardwood, don't know what it is, but I'm going to put that underneath, in there, underneath there, with two holes there, and get longer bolts that'll go through that, and this will sit against the struts, there, and there, and there, and that'll just give that a little bit more strength. It won't take long to do. There's no gluing involved because I'm not going to glue it, but I do need longer bolts, and I don't know if I have them, so let's just go and look. Well, I do have bolts. Those were acceptable because they were Allen key. Let me just show you. They were Allen key. And they sort of were acceptable because they were sort of slightly countersunk. But the only bolts I have are bolt bolts, Frankenstein bolts, like those. And these fit properly. Now, and they're long enough. So what I'm going to do is use them, and I'll put an order in. I think these are M6 nuts. I think they are M6. I'll show you how hard they are. Yeah, they don't look any worse than the other ones, so let's not pretend that they do. So now I'm going to mark off where I want to drill the holes for the bolts to go through and put some washers in. You can do it. Don't drop the bolt. Don't rush it. The bolt is touching the... Not... Oh, look at that! Look at that! I'm not just a pretty face! Look at that! Look at that! Right, okay.
That's one end. Now, here, the other one to go in. Hopefully I put that bolt's hole. Look at that. Look at that. Doesn't that look pretty? Doesn't that look pretty? Washer and bolts. Let's try two at once. Let's try two at once. There's the washer. Oh, and the bolts. Have I done it? I'm going to the Guinness Book of Records for somebody who put a bolt in a washer on to say, oh, I've done it. Ooh, love it. Right, so all I'm going to do is tighten these up now. Not crazily, but tighten them up a bit, and then I'll let you see inside with the... and I might even put another bolt on them to give it a double lock, but I don't know. Let's just see how it goes. This is nuts. What does it Scott say? It's life, but not as we know it. Captain. Now, I just noticed another little issue. That this one's not turning without hitting that peg. Well, we'll see how we get along with that. Because I don't actually have a socket wrench that's thin enough to get between the peg and the thing. Although I can take the peg out. I'm not just a... Yeah, okay. Said that already. But you know, there you go. So that piece of wood is actually not touching the pegs, which is a good thing, because we're pushing the pegs up. And you don't want that. We don't want that, do we? So, this has been a finagler, I tell you and a half. Right, okay. Yes, the bolts are too long. I could have cut them. Yes, I could have cut them. But I didn't. Right, okay. Now, take that peg out. I had to buy myself a couple more of these. They cost 36 pence. Let me just do this without damaging the wood. 36 pence. Because I keep losing for some reason or other. I don't know. Right, where's the socket set? Yeah, okay. And yes, the bolt's going to turn. Can I get that in there? No, I can't. I'm going to take that. It's been interesting this because I had epoxy all that and it works. Well, there's one more job I need to do because this bridge is, the metal for the bridge that's inside there that's sitting in it is not fitting in the slot perfectly. So I need to put a shim down the side of it, so I must do that. Right, my baby pliers. Love these baby pliers. I think I stole them from my mate. Although he doesn't know I stole them from him. Although I did think I told him, but he says, I think I did tell him actually. And he says they'd be better use with me than it were with him. I mentioned him a few times. He's a professional singer, makes his money gigging and doing the rounds. So I get all his guitars, so I wouldn't charge him anything for it. So a pair of pliers is the least he can give me, he says. Little pair of pliers, like with springs on them. I love it. Right, let me just feel that. Right, that's it tight. Right, and I put that peg back in. Well, you're going to have to take my word for it, but that has helped a lot. That has helped a lot, and that has kept the bridge and saddle down. I put a little shim in. It's had to be a folded piece of metal to keep it back. And I brought it up to tuning, and it's helped a lot. Now I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll come back to this tomorrow and have a look at it. All right, bye-bye. So here we are again in the sunshine. Strings have been loosened again, and that's sitting nicely. What I'm going to do, belt and braces, is that this is sitting down a little bit, and there's a cross beam struts there. All the struts, there's a struts meet there and the struts meet there, but it's sitting down slightly. So what I'm going to do is going to strengthen it. I suspect that what's happened is over the years this wood has weakened, and you've got a strut there and a strut there, but the wood itself is weakened. So I have put a bar across there underneath with these bolts to strengthen it. And I suspect this is weakened as well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little piece of wood just on the back plate, because nothing's in the right place for me back there with the struts. I'm going to put a little piece of wood there on the bottom, and then I'm going to put a pole just there, which will sit on the point of the cross struts, and I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on it, and they've got to be flattened a bit. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on it to force it up, but that's only as a sort of a backup. It maybe belts, braces, and stitched onto your body at the same time, but I think just to be on the safe side, and that'll make this guitar work for another 50 years. The only really good way to do this would be to take the whole back off and work on the front and make it 100%, but it's just not worth that kind of effort, and it would be messy and you never get it back the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that now. I'm going to put that piece of wood in, like scaffolding in the inside. Maybe put a couple of metal bars in there as well. All right, come back to you when I finish. So there we are. Too much, I hear you say, too much. I'm going to put that on the bottom there. It just fits tightly to where the strut joint is. What I'm going to do is just put a couple of dabs of glue there and a little dab of glue there and just put it in. It's not going to, I don't think it's going to do an awful lot, but I think it's going to help a little bit, and every little bit helps. So I'm going to glue that in. You don't need to see glue. I'm going to put a dab of glue there. I'm going to put a dab of glue there. I'm just going to put it in. Will you forgive me if I don't want to take the strings off again to show you inside? You can see roughly inside there. Let me just see if I can get you in focus there. You can see the post. Can you see the screws? No, but you take my word for it. There's a block of wood. Let me just get down lower. No, you can't actually see that. But anyway, that's glued to the top, and it's a touch of glue to the bottom. And there's a strip of wood across there, which you saw a bit of it. Now, what hasn't worked is the epoxy resin is not holding. Now, that looks like it's coming up through it, but it's not. That's just the tip of the string. But the epoxy resin is not holding. I didn't think it would, but what it is doing, I'm not so worried about there. See the way it's gone white? That's because it's broken away. It's the circular aspect of it. This doesn't matter if this comes away because it's gone against the wood. It's the bit that makes the peg stick in the hole, which is the bit that I was more interested in. So I'm not that concerned about that. I just have to trim the tops off and do that. And I have not seen a 12 string. I haven't seen an acoustic with that kind of action at the very bottom. There's the 12th fret action. Can you imagine? That's excellent action. Little bits of, I'm not going to touch up. I put some super glue on it. That was already there. I put super glue on it to seal it. That's a little crack that I made when I took this off. But other than that, it's all now working, and I'm going to give you a little demo of what it sounds like. All right, okay, so this is it. It's with all the building work inside and the scaffolding, but you won't, and it's been tidied up a little bit at the back and all. It wasn't meant to make it new. I was meant to get it working because it was unoperable before, so. I think it sounds beautiful. None of that scaffolding work or the bolts have made any difference to sound as far as I'm concerned. Excellent, excellent. What do you call it at the top? Action at the top of my head's not working. They started off badly, but I hope it's going to end up better, you know. There you
just have to tidy up the head strings, bend them in, and that's it, going back to its daddy. I don't think it'll be back for a while, but I would like it to come back again someday, just to have a look at it to see how all the workings inside it worked. Okay, say goodbye to it. It's in Italian, isn't it? Yeah, say goodbye to it. Goodbye. Goodbye.